And what is going on, everybody? Episode 63, We Are Family Pittsburgh Sports Podcast. Before we get started, make sure you like this video if you like our content and subscribe to our channel. And follow us on our social medias. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. So if you like our stuff and want to support, that's how you can do it. Today, we are joined by a very special guest who surprisingly has not been on our podcast yet, and that's our fault. That is all our fault, certainly. Ryan Quinn, a valued friend of the We Are Family Pittsburgh Sports Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Ryan. It was kind of late notice, just kind of a last-minute thing, but I was like, we got to have Ryan Quinn on if he's available. He's available today.
It had to happen.
It had to happen. It really did. And so thank you, Ryan, for joining us. We're going to get into a lot of stuff today. It's funny. Our episodes where we think there's less stuff to talk about, we go on for 2 hours. So we'll see.
We are on a timer though this time.
Yeah,
around,
we're yes, but even then that doesn't stop us.
That's
sometimes.
true. Yeah, we'll have to
we
be
start
aware.
rambling, but we're gonna be aware. So but yeah, let's just get right into it, guys. There's a big game this weekend. I don't know if you know. The Seahawks and the Patriots are playing in the Super Bowl this weekend, and a rematch of Super Bowl of past that was a very big note in the history of the NFL.
11 years ago too. Crazy.
11 years ago. Feels like just yesterday. Maybe because we see the clip of Malcolm Butler just every day, especially leading up to the Super Bowl here this week.
I think Dave Portnoy's been posting the same play over and over again. He's like, I'm posting all these Super Bowl memories, but it's just that play.
Well,
every day.
It's a core memory.
Yeah.
Portnoy also posted his relay race where he completely embarrassed himself as well. So
Who was he racing against?
it doesn't matter. He couldn't beat a tortoise.
I think he won though,
marathon.
didn't he win? He got like a head start.
He had like a full head start. That was a disgrace. He ran like he was injured. Like it was just. But anyway, I don't want to talk about him. What are our thoughts here? We gave our thoughts a little bit, obviously, with the 2-week break in between the NFC and AFC championships and the Super Bowl. But just some further conversation as we've gotten closer to this game. Drake May, Mike Vrabel, year one together. Just tremendous that they're already in the Super Bowl. Obviously, did they have the toughest path? Maybe not. But they played some really great defenses along the way. And it's just crazy that they are in the Super Bowl. I mean, before the season, we were saying, hey, like they could be a sleeper team, to make the playoffs. A lot of us had them making the playoffs. But Super Bowl with Kansas City, with Buffalo, with Baltimore in the conference it's just crazy to say in hindsight now. But as for Seattle, too, I mean, a lot of people, I thought they would kind of be a 9-8, 8-9 kind of team. With Sam Darnold year one and a new offense. Didn't know too much about Clint Kubiak and the offense that he likes to run. Didn't know if the Sam Darnold thing was just a one-year blimp with Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings, if he could replicate that. But and who could have saw this defense coming with just the depth that they have at each position now. Some really unheralded guys that have come together. This is a fun matchup. I know it's not completely star-driven like we've seen with the Mahomes. Allen hasn't been in the Super Bowl, but those kind of type of players. But I think it's going to be a fun game. Everybody's picking Seattle. What do the Patriots need to do to get this victory?
Well, I think Sam Darnold is a superstar, quite frankly, which is why
You have to be in today's NFL to make it to the Super Bowl.
He's playing like a Super Bowl. That's why I bought the Jets jersey, half off compared to the Seahawks jersey. Great deal.
Congrats.
Love the deals, as you would say. And I want to let Ryan Quinn talk, so I don't want to go on too much. But I mean, I'll say this: if Sam Darnold plays like he did last week, or even like 80% or 75% of how he played last week, I don't see the Patriots winning. However, I think the Patriots are being extremely disrespected. Everyone's talking about their easy schedule. Oh, they didn't play Bo Nix. That was a goofy game. Like, their offense didn't do anything. And it's like Mike Vrabel, you have to understand, like, Mike Vrabel learned from Bill Belichick, right? And I think he should get a lot more credit for as far as, like, being a good defensive coach. Like, I know he's not the play caller, but, I mean, this defense has been excellent. And I know Texans offense has its weaknesses. Denver didn't have Bo Nix, et cetera, et cetera. But, like, this defense, I think, can cause problems. And I think it's better than any of the defenses the Seattle has played in their last 3 games. When you talk about San Francisco week 18, then San Francisco again, their whole entire front 7 was decimated. And then a Rams defense then that outside of that Bears game had been playing well for about 2 months. So I think this is going to come down to, can the Patriots defense force some mistakes? And if Sam Darnold and JSN are cooking and they can get that run game going, I think you want to get the run game going early on if you're Seattle, because Sam Darnold has been known to get tight in these spots, right? Now, last week or 2 weeks ago, he certainly didn't, but it's going to come down to get the run game going, get Sam Darnold comfortable, and then let him do his thing once he gets comfortable. So can the Patriots disrupt his timing with his receivers and force him to make some bad decisions?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Sam Darnold has like kind of had gone bad with him. Like, he just doesn't make the best decisions at certain points in time when he is facing under pressure. But I think this is the time where, you know, he's been able to get to those moments. Now he played amazing in the conference championship game. So now going into the Super Bowl, you think he'll be able to maneuver through that Patriots defense. I do agree that the Patriots have been a little bit disrespected. I think I've also kind of been doing it as well unintentionally, just because I've seen how like the Patriots have played these last like 3 games on offense, and it just hasn't been up to par yet. And I think it just goes with like Drake May and the inexperience that he has, but he's able to rely on his defense to get him into these scenarios. Like that Denver game, their defense played phenomenally. Granted, snow was falling down, but also like for the first half of that game and into the third quarter, that defense was playing amazing. So it comes down to that. I think May just needs to step up a little bit more. Granted, it's still going to be difficult. They have gone through an outrageous amount of good defenses going into this game in the first place.
And this is the best.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you've like, it's been step after step after step, and now you have to go here in one of the biggest games of your life and play amazing after you haven't had the strongest 3 games to get into that scenario in the first place. It's going to be really difficult for May, and I just haven't seen him be able to really do that thus far. I think the, weak schedule argument, it's like, whatever, he's here. You can't control
They want
that.
14. It doesn't matter what your schedule is. It's the NFL. You want 14
I
games.
agree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like people being like, oh, well, that's social media for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just May just hasn't been up to the level of being a Super Bowl winning QB just yet. And I think other QBs have been at times, like Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen, he's played amazingly, but then like something happens where his defenses let him down. Not to say that he hasn't played bad, but like when you think of Allen, like he puts his team in positions to win. I don't think May has specifically done that yet. And I think there is a possibility he can. With the Seahawks, it's really hard to think that he's going to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Drake May has had an excellent year, and he's really come a long way since last season, and I think he's developing into a star quarterback. But in year 2, I understand what you're saying. Like he hasn't fully blossomed yet. Mm-hmm. But specifically these last few weeks, when you're facing a Houston D-line, a Denver D-line, right? To me, it hasn't necessarily been a Drake May problem. I think he's made some good throws, considering the circumstances, but those circumstances being his offensive line. That offensive line is just a year away. Mm-hmm. And Will Campbell, like he was the number 4 pick, right? He still needs some work, right? And so he has just been harassed. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is like, how is New England's offensive line going to hold up against Seattle's D-line? Because they couldn't really against Houston. They couldn't really against Denver. Can the Patriots get plays together for Drake May, short, quick throws to get him comfortable in this game as a 23-year-old, as a second-year player? And can they get any resemblance of a run game going? Because I don't think that's been a strength lately either. So,
well, if we look at the Patriots offense, one thing that they need to do, they have to take advantage of turnovers, assuming that we're going to see some early on from Sam Darnold.
Field position.
And the thing is with Sam Darnold, we mentioned this before, but anytime he turns the ball over, he comes right back in and he's not phased. And that's something that he's developed early on in his career to now. Like all the mistakes he's made, it has never let him get nervous in the pocket. It's never affected his game. He's still willing to take the shots that he needs to take. So if you're the Patriots, you have to take advantage of that. You can't just rely on, he's going to have a 0 touchdown, 4 interception game. Not going to happen. You have to, as an offense, take advantage of the field position. You have to get into the end zone when you're in the red zone. That's just what the Patriots are going to have to do. And they're going to have to rely on these turnovers, because if Sam Darnold throws for 3 touchdowns, doesn't turn the ball over, Seahawks are going to win this easily, in my opinion. So you have to take advantage. If you can get turnovers, you have to take advantage. So.
Yeah, no, and I think
he's a gunslinger. He's a gunslinger, Jake. He's going to make mistakes, but he's going to make some big plays.
Exactly.
I tell you what, I mean, against the Rams, he was spectacular.
And lately, I don't mean to interrupt, but lately he hasn't made any mistakes.
Right?
I mean, exactly. I know he had a lot of turnovers this year, but like in the playoffs, he has not made a lot of mistakes.
But another thing is too, though, the Rams really didn't force him under pressure too much to make a bad
which is
decision.
Crazy.
Yeah, and certainly the Niners. I mean, it was dink and dunk. I mean, against the Niners and the playoffs, really both times. But because the Niners are just dead on arrival, and they were just so injured. But I think this Patriots D line, I think they've been very slept on.
I think it's the best the Seahawks have seen.
Well, I mean, because people every matchup, it's like
not in the whole season, but like in the playoffs. Yeah.
Well, every matchup, Chargers Patriots, you're talking about Khalil Mack and the Chargers D line against the Patriots O line. Houston obviously against the Patriots.
I forgot about the Chargers game.
And Daniil Hunter, against this. It's always been about the other teams defensively. Denver too. I mean, Jarrett Stidham was harassed completely by New England, and now part of that's just Jarrett Stidham was very inexperienced in general, and certainly this season. And in a big moment, so we're just going to pressure. We're going to bring a blitz a bunch. But I think this New England defensive line, like they've been getting a lot of pressure in the playoffs. I think they could cause more problems for Seattle, for an O-line in Seattle that hasn't been tremendous all season, but it's just in the playoffs. I mean, against a Niners pass rush that's non-existent and a Rams pass rush that got her to Darnold a couple times, but really didn't perform very well. I think they could be tested. I think that's you talked about, Jake Bell, getting turnovers, I think, for New England is key. And they've been able to get turnovers in big spots, obviously, against Denver.
Yeah.
That turnover by Stidham, now a lot of that was just Stidham being a doofus on that play, but that completely flipped the game.
Yeah. And Texans, that whole game completely
and the Texans
was relying on that.
Yeah, the Texans turned over 1 billion times against New England. Now, New England also turned it over several times, but I think New England has to be the cleaner football team, penalties-wise, turnover-wise. I think they got to get a turnover or two. I think they gotta sustain some drives a little bit to make it harder for Darnold and this offense.
Keep Darnold off the field as long as you can. Give your defense the necessary rest.
Yeah.
And an interesting matchup, JSN versus Christian Gonzalez.
Oh, that's fun. That's beautiful.
That is now. I did hear this to a podcast I was listening to. What is the Patriots' game plan going to be? Are they going to put their best guy on the Seahawks' best guy?
Or just limit everybody
else?
Or
do they put Gonzalez on their second or third best weapons and have one of their other corners take JSN and have the safety take him away over the top?
To me,
I don't know what their plan's going to be.
You're going to have to apply pressure, though, to me, because I know you want to say, hey, you want to stay back on defense because of JSN, but at the same time, if you do that, then
you have Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, you have Kenneth Walker, and Darnold's gonna have all day to throw. You don't want Darnold to have all day. So I 100% agree with you, but I think they are gonna have to bring in pressure to make that work.
And the thing with, I would just put your best on their best, or switch it up at least. Don't commit to one exact thing, because JSN can play the slot too. So you'd probably want Gonzalez in the slot against JSN maybe, even though he's considered an outside corner. But if Gonzalez is one of the best corners in the game, he should be playing wherever is necessary.
Yeah, they put JSN. They put him in a bunch of different formations. They throw. He's getting pitched back and going around. They just want to get him in space. They do such a good job. Kubiak, I mean, he gets the head coaching job, with the Raiders for that, his offensive ingenuity. And JSN, I mean, he's really blossomed this season. He was always, there was DK Metcalf there and everything, and he was always like just waiting to see that potential. But now he's a bona fide number one, maybe in the entire league. I think you can make a great argument this season. But it will be interesting. I think, Jake, you hit on it. Like it really doesn't matter too much what the secondary kind of coverage decisions are if you're not going to be able to get pressure, because Darnold not under pressure has been tremendous. So like many quarterbacks when there's no pressure, but we've seen that you got to get him to the ground and you got to really wreak havoc, because he is prone to make some wishy-washy decisions if he's forced out of the pocket and on the run and there's pressure there. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So back to the Patriots. I mean, I'm not going to repeat too much of what I said as far as, their defense has to step up, but you don't want to get into a shootout. Like, you don't want to get into a shootout with the Seahawks. Like I said, if Darnold is playing like he is last week, like they're in trouble. Like you got to hope this is a defensive game, a low scoring game, a field position game, because this Seattle defense, like I have a hard time seeing them score more than 20 points on this Seattle defense, and that may be generous. So if you're the Patriots, you want this to be an under 45.5.
I think it's just
and maybe the final score will be 27-23.
Oh, that'll be beautiful. I think it's just it's a struggle because the Patriots, they don't like they have like Diggs, they have Booty, but they don't have like a bona fide number one like how Darnold has. And you have someone that you can like design the plays like how Kubiak does with JSN and like Kenneth Walker. Like you have these talents, you have these offensive weapons, and you're just able to like rely on those two and make sure that they are at least getting the ball and they're able to get into space and make plays as they've done the entire season. I don't know if Charbonnet's still injured. I think he might be.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but this random guy, third string guy, has been pretty good for them.
Yeah, I mean, they catching passes.
I mean, they know offense. Like they. I mean, Charbonnet, like he ran for almost like 750 yards. Like they have so many options. Like it's interesting.
Another idea for the Patriots offense, and the great thing about the Patriots offensively that you can feel good about is Josh McDaniels has been in 100 Super Bowls, and he's called plays and created game plans for lots of Super Bowls against a lot of tough defenses, right? So that veteran experience you think would help a young quarterback like this in this situation. But you talk about running backs. The Patriots have two that they utilize. Obviously, Travion Henderson could be a future star in the league. You could argue he already is. Ramondre Stevenson has a lot of experience, kind of like what the Steelers did a lot of this year. I'm not like, you know what I'm saying, but like, get the running backs involved in the pass game, especially if you're having trouble running the ball and you're having trouble throwing the ball down the field on this defense. Do some dump offs, create some screens that kind of reminisce what the run game should create.
Especially with Henderson, who you want in open space. I mean, he's a guy that can fly. I mean, it seems like every week he breaks off a 50-yard run, like at least once. So like he's a guy you definitely want to get involved with screens where you're completely pulling the defense in and you have all this open space where you just have to pretty much outrun safeties. It's that would be a great situation for the Patriots if they can get them going.
Yeah, it's just gonna be tough for New England because the knock on Henderson, I think he's such a good back, but they haven't played him too much. They've kind of had this tandem.
It's more in the second half of the year where he's been.
Yeah, but even like in the playoffs, he hasn't been used as much. What it's looking like is because he's not the greatest in pass protection yet, and he's a rookie. You can learn that. It's always with running backs. Interesting to see. I saw a lot of them out of college just aren't great at blocking in the pass game, but that's going to be a big key is these backs trying to, because it's the pass rush for Seattle is really good. Another thing though, even if you get a Ramondre Stevenson or a Henderson in space, like the Seattle this season, they hit hard, and they're so sound. They remind me of the Texans in that way, where Houston, I mean, against the Steelers, and I mean, right when somebody caught the ball, they're
immediately.
And they don't miss tackles. Seattle doesn't miss tackles. Now, they got to do a better job defensively of not committing taunting penalties. Because that was a bit of an issue against the Rams.
I remember in that game, our buddy Emin Ware, he was like talking crap, and I was like, "Dude, you're gonna get a penalty. Shut up! Like, shut up! Like, this is a close game. You're not. This isn't the 49ers last week. Like, you need to keep your head in the game and stay focused because this game could go either way, right? You don't have anything to taunt about right now, just because you got to stop." And then later on, it was what the heck's his name? Woolen.
Oh yeah,
Tariq Woolen. Yep. And I was like, oh, geez, this secondary, all of them need to calm down a little
Well, they're very
bit.
confident. It's a very confident bunch.
And you get that, but keep the confidence on the sidelines. I mean, I don't mean that in terms. You want to bring confidence on the field, but keep it on the field and on your side of the sideline, not their sideline.
And keep it to yourself in terms of bringing out into the public. You know.
You can celebrate, but
exactly.
You don't want to make a mistake like that in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the biggest game of your career to this point. You don't want to mess it up because you talk just a little bit too much and then the refs hear it and then you throw a flag. I mean, like, I get it. You've had this confidence. You make a big play. It's a division rival. You've played them 3 times. I get why, they're having this type of beef because, they've been back and forth. They're in the conference championship. Both of these teams want to make it to the game, but it just goes to that point. You just can't make that mistake there. And I think, having 2 weeks off, they're going to be – I don't think we're going to see a taunting penalty. Hopefully not.
It puts a target on their back, too.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good point, too, because these Ian and Maury Woolen, they're going against – Nakua and Adams, right? These vaunted guys that everybody talks about them, and rightly so. But they see that and they, I want to get that recognition. I'm locking them down. You can celebrate on the field. And you're like, yeah, you can go to your sideline, but you can't look at the people are like, you can't call that in such a big game. They always call it when you're looking at the sideline directly and you're taunting.
Yeah.
And we don't know what exactly was said, but
that Ross Tucker guy, he's on the sidelines for NFL radio, and he was right. I remember seeing a video he was talking. He was right near where it happened, and he heard the refs giving him multiple warnings. The ref who threw the flag giving him multiple warnings. At that point, if you I think that's the right thing by the ref. In a big game like that, you should give a guy a warning. You shouldn't just throw the flag and completely change the game. But he did give that warning. And then if he doesn't obey it, you have no choice at that point.
Yeah, so I think it'll be kind of a similar thing in the Super Bowl in this game as well. You got to let them play for the most part, but if it's egregious like that, what are you going to do? You got to keep control of the game. But emotion certainly will be high. It'll be interesting to see just what is thrown out. What maybe if there's any new tricks for McDaniels to show or Kubiak. But I'm excited for it. I do think it's going to be a close game. I do think it is going to be lower scoring because that's where New England needs it to be, like you were saying, Peyton. Because I just think we've seen this playoffs. Drake May, that is a question. Year 2. He hasn't been great. He's faced great defenses, but so is Seattle. It's not like it's an average defense and a spectacular offense. Seattle's good at every position, good to really good. So for Drake May, I think I think it's unreasonable to expect him to have his best game of the playoffs in the Super Bowl. But he's going to have to play close to that for New England, and they're going to have to get touchdowns instead of field goals for sure. This isn't that Broncos AFC Championship game where it's a blizzard and you're playing Jarrett Stidham on the other side, who hasn't played all season. This is a Seattle offense that is intricate, that's unique, and that really fits Sam Darnold and his skill set. It's really been crazy. You got the New York Jets Sam Darnold jersey on, how far he's come, and it kind of does show, how the difference in a great front office, great coaching staff, and a great organization compared to a dumpster fire organization where no one can succeed. And it really puts an onus on a franchise like the Jets. I mean, it's just crazy. If you're a Jets fan, what are you even thinking in the Super Bowl? You got the Patriots on one side, and you got Sam Darnold, who you had in the building who was supposed to be the guy, drafted him so high and
I think
couldn't do anything with him.
I think what's special about Darnold for the Seahawks specifically is the Seahawks didn't necessarily have to develop him because, right, the Jets failed in developing him, but his stop in San Francisco, right, with under Kyle Shanahan for a year, how much knowledge did he gain there? Then a year with Kevin O'Connell, win 14 games, make some mistakes, have some bad games, but ultimately, statistically, that was still the best year of his career.
By far, yeah.
But you learn under O'Connell and and Shanahan, and then you go to a guy like Kubiak, who's kind of similar to both of those coaches in terms of their offensive coaching and offensive smarts. Darnold knew what the expectation was, and he kind of knew how to run the offense already. I'm not saying they're completely the same, but like when he's mentored by coaches like that, he came in ready to lead a contending team. And I think that the stop with the 49ers especially got him ready to be the quarterback he is now.
And I kind of want to touch on what you mentioned about starting with the Jets with Sam Darnold. And obviously, you guys know I love the adversity, so I am going to say it again. But he's one of the rare cases where the first true adversity he faced was in the NFL, right? You're on the Jets, bad situation, bad organization. Yeah, in college, there were questions about his mobility in the pocket, reading the field, or not reading the field, but more so the turnover issues and stuff like that. But he was still regarded as this great prospect. Then he goes into a bad situation and he completely turns his career around. A lot of quarterbacks in the situation that he was in, who it just doesn't work out, you hardly see them bounce back in this significant way. And it's really cool to see. I mean we can look at some of the recent quarterbacks that were drafted really high and into sort of a bad situation, like, I don't know, a Jamarcus Russell, just those types of guys where as soon as their first stint's done, they're done. Like you don't see so it's such a credit to Sam Darnold for sort of embracing that and not giving up, because he's still an incredible talent, as we all know very well.
He has talent and he has the work ethic, and that's what got him out of his situation.
Yeah, it's very rare. You don't see this. I mean, maybe you see quarterbacks that used to be really good, and had tough stretches, then they're back, like sort of a Baker Mayfield who overcame adversity way before the Browns. But anyway, it's just you don't see those types of situations that Sam Darnold's in. So you have to give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, I think a lot of quarterbacks, like these big prospects, they go into it, they literally have never had to deal with like a bad situation. Granted, help part of that's due to their talent. They go into high school, light it up, go into college, light it up.
Right.
So Darnold, like being able to actually get past that is something that I don't think like happens a lot with like other QBs. So like just seeing that's like really inspiring.
I mean, Matthew Stafford and Caleb Williams right now, and Drake May have been the exceptions to that rule, where they were great in high school, 5-star recruits or 4-star recruits in college, light it up, and then they become really good in the NFL. So
yeah, when you get to the NFL, it's all about coaching, just like more, because it's a completely different game. These are, I know in college people are in their 6-7 years almost, in college now, but this is the pros. These are men now, and it just shows how important coaching is in this league and how stable front office, just a stable situation, is so important for these quarterbacks, especially. You talked about Stafford, just a complete overnight difference. He was great in Detroit and everything, but it's just with the team around him, with McVay, I think his offensive ceiling just went up to levels that it just wasn't with Detroit, because of coaching, because of franchise, and because McVay's just that guy. There's so many examples, but it's a great story with Sam Darnold, and you love to see it because he's been you can't question his character and who he is. Like, he's a good dude,
definitely,
and he's been fighting, he's been persevering, and I just think it's one of those things, man. Like, we saw Dante Moore return to college. The Jets might have drafted him. Like, some of these franchises that are perpetually terrible, they got to get stuff figured out, because I think that's a real thing now with NIL in college. Players, instead of want to be drafted and be going into a bad situation like a Jets or an Arizona Cardinals or the Browns or whoever, they return to college, get some NIL money, pretty good money, and try to get to a more stable organization that maybe just had a down year with injuries or whatnot, like a Kansas City this season or something like that. So it's just really something with Sam Darnold. But I want to talk about Mike Vrabel just a little bit, because I mean the Patriots, they bring in Gerard Mayo. It was a dumpster fire at the end with Belichick. You bring in Gerard Mayo, and he was just in over his skis, right? I mean, it was his first time as a head coach.
They hired them to be a one and done and tank for a year. That's the unfortunate reality, but that's what they did.
Well, I think they were hoping it could have been something longer term, but it was just, because he's a Belichick guy, he's a Patriots guy, but it just never worked out with Gerard Mayo. They weren't buttoned up at all, and good on the Patriots. Another thing we talk about front office, John Schneider, willing to get off of contracts, get off of DK Metcalf and pivot to JSN. These GMs you see with the Patriots, obviously getting rid of Gerard Mayo immediately, a really tough decision, saying we got this one wrong. You know what I mean? And pivoting, and Mike Vrabel being there, making that hire, it's done the difference. It's made the difference for New England this season. It's just still crazy to me that they're in the Super Bowl.
I mean, their record pretty much flipped from last year.
It did. I mean, yeah, and you could say, it was an easy schedule or whatnot.
I hate that argument. It's the NFL. Everybody is
Yeah.
the best player in the world. Like, this isn't college. Like, this is not college where, Indiana, 2 seasons ago, whenever they started out like 10-0 or something, everyone's like, oh, well, they played the bad Big Tens. Like, that's not NFL. That's ridiculous.
Right. It's a much more even playing field. And going in the season with that schedule, people are saying, they might go 9-8 or something, 10-7 maybe, and sneak in. They go 14-3, and they beat Buffalo on the road early. I think that was the pivotal game for the season, because they had some clunkers early too. They lost to the Raiders. Was it the first game of the season or the second game? And they lose to the Steelers.
It was first game of the year. That's
game.
why I always say it in college NFL, like the very first week of the season, don't take anything from it, because these teams are just coming out of preseason. They don't really know who they are yet, and because that develops over the course of the season. So week one, there's always some weird outcomes. Actually, I remember last year the Patriots beat the Bengals last year in week one, and that ultimately helped the Bengals miss the playoffs.
Well, didn't Brissett beat them, right?
Yeah, but I mean the Patriots won 3 or 4 games last year.
Yeah.
So it's just there's always some weird stuff that happens in week one.
The
and then look at this year, Miami beating Notre Dame in college football. That ended up costing Notre Dame. I mean, but that's a whole nother conversation. I shouldn't even gone down that road. But you see where I'm getting at.
Yeah. And the game against the Steelers, they were just horrendous. They turned it over 5 times. And I just remember thinking, like, what? I mean, that was 1-2.
They were 1-2, and they've lost 1 game ever since.
Yeah, and it's just like, I was like, what is, like, the Patriots? Like, I remember thinking in that game, if they turn over once, they're up by like 3. They're dominating this game, because the Steelers couldn't do anything offensively. But they had a great offseason. I still think, like, next season they could be so much better. Because this was supposed to be like...
I still think they're a year away in terms of their roster.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, they went heavy on defense, but it was such a bad defense. They brought in so many defensive players, and they've all really worked. And I still think offensively, you talk about the receiver room, that's where, like, Seattle has the advantage, certainly, like you mentioned, Ryan. Boutte, I mean, he's been playing pretty good recently, and Diggs has stepped up.
How about that catch against the Texans?
Yeah,
I was like,
wasn't that something?
Because the Texans were my team this year in the AFC, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. That's unbelievable.
But I didn't realize this. Like, Boutte, like it
is booty. It is booty.
Is it actually?
It's actually booty.
I thought it was Boutte.
If
you hear if you watch it's booty.
Well, anyway, it was weird because, like, he was like this big 5-star recruit. And, like,
LSU,
but, like,
I think.
And he didn't have the college career maybe you'd expect, but still good enough in the NFL, obviously, as we see. But it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, I just worry because, like, this is the year where they overperformed, and then now you're going into next year. You don't know how Kansas City is going to bounce back. It looks like Baltimore is going to be back. Their hiring process.
Yeah, they made a great hire at head coach. Yeah.
So you have that Buffalo if they're able, get back into it. But despite all the mess they're doing with, like, their head coach situation and how that went about, like, there's still those 3 powerhouses in the AFC, and I don't think they're officially gone yet.
Yeah.
And it's just worrying because I do think they benefited from it to a point. Obviously, they still were good enough to make it all the way there because they did. But you're going up against those three. You don't know how they're going to rebound into next year. You're going to hope that you're able to get those wide receivers, and hopefully everyone keeps developing because you don't want to go through that like hangover after going this far in. Like, this could be the peak. You can't miss your shot now, especially if you don't get another one.
Yeah, well,
I got to be honest, though. I look at that perspective more on the Seahawks side because, first of all, I think the NFC overall has more depth, has more good teams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously you have the Chiefs and the Ravens, and you have Josh Allen. But if you look at the Seahawks division, San Francisco's not going away. The Rams aren't going away.
That's true.
Arizona's awful, right? I'm not saying Seattle's still going to be a very good team with their structure and the quarterback. But I think they have a tougher path to get back to the Super Bowl moving forward than New England because of Seattle's division is tougher. Because look at New England's division. You play the Jets twice a year. You play Miami twice a year. And the Bills, yes, they have Josh Allen, but everything else about this franchise right now is a complete and total mess.
Yeah.
They hired Pat Meyer as their offensive line coach, by the way.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a whole other conversation. But, like, I think the Patriots are only going to get better, whereas the Seahawks, I think they're already there. This is already a great team. And I'm not saying they're not going to be great in the future, but like they're going to be facing a lot more great teams in the NFC than in the AFC, and they're going to be in a much tougher division moving forward.
I mean, imagine if the Niners didn't have all those injuries. Maybe they're the 1 seed. Like, who knows what? So, like, yeah, I agree.
And
like,
as much as I love Sam Darnold, right, I think Drake May's ceiling may be higher than Sam Darnold.
It definitely
I can see
is.
that.
Yeah,
So
that's
He's only going to get better too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, Drake May was the better quarterback all season. I mean, Darnold had a bunch of turnovers, in the regular season. And he's obviously probably the second, candidate for MVP behind Matt Stafford.
And I'm not saying the Patriots, they'll have, there's going to be a lot of, there's a lot of franchises in the AFC in terms of quarterbacks and coaching that are good. And you have Mahomes, you have Lamar, and you have Allen. But it all starts with how you're going to do in your division. And when your only competition is a Bills team that has a great quarterback and everything else is kind of meh. I mean, you outpaced them this year, right? And Allen's getting older, right? So, like, I just think in terms of division, the Seahawks have an easier path the Patriots have an easier path moving forward. And the Seahawks are favored in this game. Like, everyone's picking them. So the pressure really is on Seattle in this game. I mean, 100%. It really is.
Yeah, I think the same argument can go for the Seahawks. I wonder how, like, Stafford's going to go on. He's, like, one of the older QBs in the league. I don't want to say.
I think he's back for another year at least.
I think he can be. I think he can be. The 49ers, you always say you don't want them to be, like, injured, but every year they are injured. So it's
they have some older players.
Yeah.
They do.
So I think it goes both. I think for both of them, they got into like the perfect position. Everyone played really well. It's just you worry because like you don't know if it's gonna happen again. There's just a lot of variables.
I mean, that's a question every year.
Yeah.
It is. Now the 49ers though, what makes me hopeful about their future is yes, they were injured and they had a lot of veteran guys get hurt who are only getting older. But I mean, look what they did with all these young pieces they had and these third and fourth string receivers and a practice squad front seven. I mean, it was really an impressive coaching job. And it's the coaches in that division too. Shanahan, McVay, and obviously McDonald is one of the best too.
And LaFleur now.
I was excited about that hire, but not so much after hiring Nathaniel Hackett as your offensive coordinator.
I still can't believe I think they really just want to run Kyler Murray out because there's no way Kyler Murray's going to.
But I don't think they want Kyler Murray. They don't even want him.
That might be what they're doing, just tanking for a year. Because I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback, right?
Like your first move as head coach is hiring Nathaniel Hackett. And I think Matt LaFleur is an excellent coach. I love that Mike LaFleur comes from the McVay tree, but not every tree bears great fruit.
Wow.
So at some points, one of McVay's coaches is going to have to be a dud.
That's
You know what I mean?
yeah, that's
well, we'll see though, because again, maybe they're just using this as a year to just tank. They want it to even be more easy to trade Kyler Murray or to get rid of him.
Send him to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So I
think that's a possibility.
I
don't think.
I hope not. But
I mentioned that last week, and I don't know if I necessarily support it, but the Steelers are going to be looking at all their options.
They will.
To quarterback this offseason. But
Would you rather bring back Aaron or have Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray.
I think I'll take Murray.
Because again, like
Jake Bell is soul searching.
Because how long would Murray be a Steeler? Would he only be a Steeler for a year?
I
don't
think
know.
it depends on how
I
good
think
he would
it would be a couple of years, at least 2 or 3
Well,
years.
you bring McCarthy in. Like I'm looking for upside, and I think Kyler Murray has more upside at this stage than Aaron Rodgers.
But like, if
I
you're
love
only having
Aaron.
Aaron Rodgers for one more year, like, and then you have to commit to Murray for multiple, and then maybe you draft a quarterback that can sit behind Rodgers. Like, I'd rather do that because
I can see both sides of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Rodgers is still obviously he's a better leader, a better clubhouse guy.
That's a good
clubhouse.
point.
I'm getting into
Yeah.
I say clubhouse like it's baseball, but I mean it's a locker room.
Yeah. Well, and Cam Hayward, he was making the rounds media-wise this week, and he was praised.
We were talking about. I love Cam Hayward during the season, but when he gets in these interviews in the off season, it's like you're worried what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
But he hasn't said anything.
He said
weird.
good stuff about Aaron Rodgers as a teammate and everything, and as a leader, and that was kind of the thing on Rodgers, like with his reputation, that he's not the greatest teammate or whatever. But all his teammates have said
Aaron has his faults, but I think
loved
he
him.
was tainted by the media
I agree.
unnecessarily.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think like that he's it's not even just the he's, but it's just his inability and his wariness to take sacks, his inability to move around.
That's been the even in his MVP years in some of those playoff games. That's been his biggest issue. Like you see guys like Stafford and trying to think, Allen even right like now Allen can Stafford's a better comparison because Stafford, like Aaron, is more strictly a pocket guy. Mm-hmm. And Stafford, even despite his age, he's going to wait until the last second, if he can, to find that open receiver, even if it means taking a hit. And that's just not the case with Aaron. Like, he's going to get rid of he's going to take the dump off before he takes the hit. And at age 42, I understand that, but that limits the offense. And he still can escape the pocket and make some throws, but like he has to have a clear lane. Like he can't outrun an most edge rushers anymore. So
yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see where the Steelers go, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about the Steelers. I do want to talk about the Steelers in terms of their coaching staff and some other NFL coaching updates now. But do we want to do?
Let's make our picks for Super Bowl real quick. Yeah, let's do it right now.
Okay. You want to go first?
Yeah. So, like I said, I think the world, the weight of the world is on Seattle's shoulders, just because I think, obviously, the history of this matchup. Number one, the fact that everyone's picking them, the fact that, I like I said, I do think Seattle's going to have a tougher path to the Super Bowl in the future. You can debate that. But those things, so I think those things put the pressure on Seattle. But so I think this game, we're going to figure out how it goes in the first quarter, because I think Seattle's going to come into the game a little tight, and New England's going to come in with nothing to lose, right? I mean, this is the first year of Mike Vrabel and Drake May. They don't have, not that they don't have nothing to lose, but like they're going to be more aggressive, freer in the way they play and their decision making. So if Seattle comes out tight and New England gets up, 6-0, 10-0, it's like, oh, Seattle, this doesn't look like the same team for some reason tonight, then they're going to be in trouble. But I trust in Sam Darnold, because we've been wondering over the last few weeks, is Sam Darnold, can he can he play well in pressure situations? And he has. Well, especially in that Rams game, right? Because that was the Rams team that had his number, and he delivered one of the best games of his career. And the weeks prior, he had been serviceable, but the big thing is he hasn't been turning over the ball in these big games. He hasn't been making mistakes, and he was special last week against a team that had his number. So I trusted Sam Darnold to play well and to play loose and free and to not turn the ball over too much. Maybe he'll have one or two turnovers, but I don't think that will affect Seattle's ability to win this game too much. I think it's going to be close. I don't think Seattle's going to go off offensively, but I think it also comes down to the line of scrimmage too. Seattle and New England, I think on both sides of the ball, Seattle has the edge. So I'm going to go Seattle 21-17 Seattle.
I'm gonna be a lot shorter in mine because I think I agree with everything you said. I just think Seattle. I just don't see a scenario where they don't do not whatever they want, but they don't effectively. Now I could see in New England a couple series getting a sack here or there and getting a stop and getting it to their offense, but I just think Seattle is the better roster. I think Seattle has a more veteran quarterback who has performed better in the playoffs so far. So I do think it would be hard for me to see a scenario where New England wins this game, just because their inability to move the ball offensively, just in the playoffs against the similar kinds of defenses. So I'm going to take Seattle, but I think it is going to be a good game. Like you said, I think New England's going to play with their hair on fire. I think they're going to try to pull out all the stops because they don't have anything to lose. I think this is Seattle's game to lose, though. So I think Seattle does get it done in the end. But I think it's going to be – I don't know if people are thinking it's not going to be a good game, but everybody is like just on Seattle and everything. And I do want to give more respect to New England than a lot of people have, just because they're kind of like written off and everything. But they got a lot of good players. That D-line, they have some really good players on that D-line. That are just wreaking havoc, and obviously you talk about Christian Gonzalez in the secondary. If JSN gets locked down somehow, which I don't see happening, but that could be an issue for Seattle going forward in that game, and they could get tight. Who knows? I don't think they're a team that would get tight, but if they are down early and they're not moving the ball as well, and New England's having some success. Who knows? But I'm gonna go Seattle.
It's just crazy. Like when I talk about the history of this matchup, like Seattle literally has the chance to get the Super Bowl back that they should have had, right? And a lot of the matchups we talked about, and
the players
and the rosters, right?
Yeah,
like favor Seattle. So like this is their time. You would think.
Yeah, and I do think Seattle is gonna have a tougher time. To make the playoffs going forward, because I think a team like Atlanta, I think they've upgraded.
Let's not.
Well,
let's
I think going forward, I'm going to some teams. That NFC North is very tough.
Oh yeah, I was going to say the NFC North.
The Lions. Well, I don't know. The Lions. But yeah,
Chicago, Green Bay, Minnesota, the whole division's really good, and you can't discount the Eagles. We'll see with John Harbaugh and the Giants, but I said Atlanta because I think Stefanski. I think he's going to cook. That's my opinion, but. And Arizona can't get any worse right now, so but we'll
sure
see.
They can.
Maybe, but I mean, geez.
Yeah, I mean, I just think Seattle's roster just overall, like I think even on defense, just better on offense. So with that, I just have to pick Seattle. When playoffs started, that was my pick.
What's your? I want to hear score predictions. Did you let's say a score?
I don't think he did.
I don't like score, but I'll do a score. I don't know.
27-23.
There it is. I'm good. That's my score prediction actually.
Really? Yeah,
that's my score. There it is.
Has to be.
It's a 27-23.
I'm gonna go with the under 27-23. Under 46.
Oh, that's beautiful.
If you know math. You'll understand the joke there.
But yeah, I think just Seattle's roster seems more ready for the moment. I just have more trust in Sam Darnold than I do with Drake May, just based off of how the playoffs have been overall. So I believe it just comes down to QBs at certain moments in time, and with that, I just have to go with Seattle. I'll say 24-17.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I was gonna mention what you said, Peyton, about the whole interception at the 1 yard line, because I know for a fact that McDonald is playing that on repeat, trying to pump his guys up.
Or or maybe you don't talk about it at all because you don't want the weight of that history on their players' shoulders. It depends how you see it as a coach.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. But either way, that's gonna be in the minds of everyone in the Seahawks. I think they win, but I do think it's gonna be low scoring. I think the Seahawks will win 16-14. I think both quarterbacks, none of them have been in this situation before as a starter. And I think that it's gonna be a little bit of weird football offensively. Just with these two defenses, I don't think they'll skip a beat. And I think there's gonna be weird stuff going on, but I think Seahawks win 16-14.
Game-winning safety.
I'm gonna
imagine that.
I'm gonna change my score prediction because I was thinking about it too. Like I said 27-23 because our buddy our buddy made that prediction. But I do think it is gonna be lower scoring than that. If New England gets to 23 points, I think they could be in a good spot.
Yeah,
to win,
I
actually.
agree.
So that's why I do agree. I think it will be more like a 20-17 kind of game because New England, I mean, they scored a bunch against the Texans, but a lot of that, was defensive touchdowns and everything. They didn't. They scored what was it, 16 or 17 against the Chargers. They scored 10 against Denver, and they weren't doing anything even before the snowstorm. So I am gonna. I think I'm gonna say 20-14 Seattle. So I guess they do cover the spread now.
Bro,
Earlier this week I said they covered the spread in New England, but now I'm flip flopping, which I can do because the game hasn't happened yet. So there you go. Wow. I apologize to Sideline.
What the heck? What are we doing? No, I'm just kidding.
Jake Bell, I apologize. I've ruined the video. I've ruined that video. That was so nice for you, but. Anything else on this game?
Not in the game.
Let's talk about the halftime show.
The shows, you mean?
Shows, plural. I'm actually.
Let's really not.
I'm excited for the shows, plural. No, I do think actually, Bad Bunny. I'm interested actually because I'm not like a Bad Bunny. I honestly don't know any of his music. I've heard it before, but I don't know like the songs. And it's all in Spanish, isn't it? Like it's or I don't know. I have no idea honestly. But
do your research.
I have no opinion on Bad. I don't know much about Bad Bunny.
What it is.
But I think what's so special about the Super Bowl halftime show is the amount of work and money and preparation that's put into a 10-minute production like that, and the amount of people involved. It's just like you can't even fathom it. Like they've showed like behind the scenes stuff, but like it's really one of the biggest productions in entertainment. Like seriously, like it's crazy. Yeah. And it's one of the most high pressure because the Super Bowl is one of the most highly watched events of the year. So
this will get some international, I think, for sure, like more than maybe any, just because Bad Bunny's more of an international star.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think actually for the NFL, it was a really good pick because I do think, what are they trying to do? They get these international games all over the place, and I do think having something like Bad Bunny brings a lot of people that maybe for the first time are watching NFL into the picture. So we'll see there, but it's generally been good halftime shows. I mean, I think Kendrick Lamar did a good job last year. I love The Weeknd, but that one was interesting. But overall, I think it's pretty good. But anything else on the Super Bowl or anything before? I do want to move to some coaching stuff because the Steelers have been putting together their staff and everything. What is the OC? The new OC? They brought in the Vikings passing game coordinator to be the OC.
Are we talking about the Steelers?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have to change. We're gonna have to change subjects in a second about baseball. I don't know if this is a big sign. I don't.
Oh, is it Jose Urquidy?
It says Jose Urquidy has signed. Who even is that? I gotta be honest.
He was a good pitcher
name
for the
sounds
Astros
familiar.
for their 2022 World Series. But he's been hurt a lot.
We were gonna get to base. That's not a. You don't.
I'm sorry, but
our
I just
segment
saw
for
it.
that.
I just saw. We can talk about it later.
Yeah.
We'll have a dialogue.
Yeah, but
We'll have a dialogue.
I don't think that was appropriate to interrupt the Steelers coaching for Jose Urquidy.
Bro, I didn't want to, but it was on. I was.
And we
it was
talked about
reading
it before the. Okay. Anyway.
No, I just saw this now. I didn't know.
Okay. Well.
Oh, he starts. He's a starter apparently. I didn't even know. I thought he was a reliever.
No, he was like a
He
good
started
starting
for the
pitcher.
Astros for a while. Yeah.
For their World Series team. He was like one of the rotation guys.
It's an upside pick signing, but what's so the
Anyway.
Steelers OC.
Oh
they
yeah,
hired-
Brian Angelique. I don't know how to. It's in Italian. He's an Italian.
Yeah, so he
name,
was
you
actually
know.
with New England for a little while early, and he's been around the block.
Angelicio, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Angelicio.
We'll learn it soon enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, with the Steelers, with Mike McCarthy, the OC is maybe not as important. I don't even want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not someone that people shouldn't be like, oh, we need this really young guy. There's not going to be a guy that's like under 40 with an innovative mind that's going to be an OC for a head coach that's also an offensive mind. It's very rare. They're going to want to be their own. They want their side of the ball to be their side of the ball. So I don't know. I don't feel like a lot of people should be like going crazy because he's an older OC.
No,
you know?
but the age thing is so overrated.
Yeah.
Like look at who he's around. Like he was the right. I saw this report. He was like a right hand man to Kevin O'Connell, and we know that how good of an offensive coach Kevin O'Connell is. So. And he knows about tight ends, coaching
That's what I
tight
was gonna
ends,
say, yeah.
which I think is a big deal. He feels like a future head coach potentially. Now I know
Wow.
he's older.
That would be
But, like-
breaking if he becomes a head coach eventually for the Steelers. Or not for the Steelers, but as a Steeler
Yeah, I don't think it would be with the Steelers,
Yeah.
but
Coaching
like
tree.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like-
Wow.
We don't do that here.
just his experience, the fact that he's been under O'Connell. You said he's with the Patriots.
I
too?
think I saw something where like in the early 2000s he was with New England for I think 3 or 4 seasons.
When you're the passing, like obviously his expertise is with tight ends, but when you're a passing game coordinator, right, you're helping design, those routes and helping develop the quarterback. So I think that's a good get for the Steelers, and it's not like the Steelers need an experienced play caller as offensive coordinator. You just need a guy who knows offense, who knows modern day offense, and I think he's going to fit in well with McCarthy.
Yeah, I do too, and again, like it wasn't like a high pressure, search for the OC like it was for even the DC or the head coach for the Steelers. But I do think it's interesting. You mentioned the tight ends, I wanted to bring up because he talked about I think last year. About tight ends and his use of tight ends, and he loves using tight ends, and he loves tight ends to block and to catch passes. And what do the Steelers have? They get an abundance of tight ends here at his service. So I think it is an interesting
That's a good good
combination with McCarthy. Maybe he can bring some things to McCarthy's offense, and maybe that can evolve because he's not going to be the guy. McCarthy's going to call the plays.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be what kind of generally what McCarthy wants. But if he can add anything, like maybe some of these, interesting tight end sets. If you have a Jonnu Smith next season, how could you best utilize him in an offense? And I think it's an upside pick. I like the hiring. I honestly do. I would have liked the Saints passing game coordinator as well, but he obviously did not. I don't even think they. I think I saw the Steelers actually didn't offer him.
Yeah, they just probably had him on an interview or something, and that was that. I don't know, but
and I know people are complaining like, oh, McCarthy's creating a buddy system because Angelicio, however you say his last
They're
name,
good coaches.
yeah,
was with McCarthy in Green Bay, similarly to how a lot of coaches we'll talk about were on McCarthy's staff in Green Bay or in Dallas. But you have to understand when Jerry Jones is your owner, I don't think McCarthy had a full say as to who his coaching staff was in Dallas in his last experience. So he's probably like, I really want this to be my staff and my guys that I know the game, that I feel like know the game well and know what I want to do as a coach well. So I have no problem with it. I don't think he's brought in guys with bad resumes or
They're not
coaches.
bums
Right.
who
That's what I'm
happen to be
saying.
coaches.
exactly.
Or
Yeah.
coaches who have had bad resumes or like don't come from haven't had any success in what they've done. You know what I mean? It's like specifically the offensive line coach. Now, the special teams coach, I don't really have an opinion on. I'm used with the Dolphins and the Bills. I don't know what to make of that. I'm trying to think who else.
Steelers special teams, honestly, like it could easily be it could easily be an upgrade because we love Danny Smith and everything, but other than Boswell kicking field goals, they weren't the greatest in terms of kick returns, punt returns.
Anytime the Steelers did anything special teams related that was good, they would just go to Danny Smith. But it was like a fluky thing, like a punt returner missed whiffed the punt. And then the Steelers, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's not like, Danny Smith did such a good job on just his intimidation for him to drop the punt.
That gum chewing. That really made the difference.
I'm fine with that.
I think I've liked the hires thus far.
I just got to look up all it because I get.
There's a
lot of hires.
There's a lot of hires.
It's a much bigger
and
staff.
That's the other thing. Tomlin didn't like to have a big staff, and I think that kind of hurt the Steelers. I think the more coaches you have, I think the better you're going to be.
As long as they're all on the same page.
Right.
On their side of the ball.
Obviously, I think they will because McCarthy's familiar with most of them.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think I didn't like the McCarthy hire mainly because I feel like the roster isn't built for a run. And I feel like if we were built more for a run, I would be like, oh, this is great.
That was my point initially,
but
too.
I think I do like the hires. I think we're building something solid. It's just McCarthy just feels like it would be like a stopgap. And then let's say like that the pass game coordinator for the Vikings does get promoted to head coach. It's like, well, I mean, it's good that he got himself in that position. So I think that's what, the Steelers, if that's what eventually happens, it does work out. But with like McCarthy in general, I think Rooney still thinks we're built for making a good run for the Super Bowl, and I don't think we are just yet. I think there's just too many pieces that we need to get better at in comparison to like a lot of other teams. Like with the Texans, they just need to focus on offense a little bit more. Patriots, they just need to focus on like receivers more and things like that, where it's like, I worry we're not in that position to really compete. And McCarthy could put us in a position to compete. I don't know how successful he would be in the playoffs just yet, but it just, that's what was my main worry. So if we like did hire a younger guy, at least I could see like, oh, at least it seems like we're ready to reset. We're not ready to reset just yet. And I think that's what the Steelers eventually will have to do.
Well, I think there's a difference between rebuilding and retooling, and the Steelers will never rebuild.
Yeah.
But do I think with the right coach, do I think this roster is capable of retooling and getting the quarterback right, fixing the middle of the defense, wide receiver depth, right? Getting the O-line, I think, is close to being pretty good, but it still needs work. I think the coaching has been the issue because this team has still won 9 to 10 games every year in spite of the coaching, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that the roster is great. I think if the roster can be retooled and they can find that quarterback, I think McCarthy is an upgrade over Tomlin, especially because of his. He's easily the best offensive coach the Steelers have had in since Bruce Arians. I don't think there's any argument against that.
I agree.
And bringing in a guy like Anglioko, who comes from, I know I'm butchering that, who comes from O'Connell, right? James Campen developed great O-lines in Green Bay. He played the position. I love coaches who played the position wherever they're coaching, right? Or just played in the NFL in general. Like, I love that our offensive line coach has all that experience. He played in the league. You know what else I love is our most recent hire as our defensive line coach. I don't know. I'll probably butcher this name too. Petco.
Yeah.
Petco. What's his first name? He played for the Bengals for years. I remember him because he had that Troy Polamalu hair almost. And like the Ryan Quinn hair, kind of, maybe a little longer.
Like Ray Malaluga too, like those Bengals guys that like have the long hair.
Like, I love guys who knew what it takes to play the game, especially in the trenches, right? And the Steelers' offensive line, has been mediocre to above average every year. And I feel like if you find that if you get that left tackle position solved, you find the next left guard. Like I feel like the right side of the line,
If they could figure
they're
out
all young
Broderick
guys who are
Jones,
only going to get better and have proven something. So
if Campa could figure out a spot for Broderick Jones and get him comfortable, like that,
Yeah, I don't
that
know.
would be tremendous too.
I mean,
Because we kind of
Yeah.
forget about
That's
him because he got hurt at
that's
the end of the
hope.
season.
You hope that he's able
I-
to do that
it-
because that's like just a first round pick, and like the Steelers they haven't been good at drafts with Colbert, and we're still like suffering from that. Like every year, I like look at the drafts. It's like you hope they do good, and then like 2-3 years later, they're falling apart.
And the thing is, like, they drafted Broderick Jones over. They had Christian Gonzalez on their lap, so that's something that's gonna like,
That's who
especially
I
with
wanted.
cornerback being such a big issue every single year. It feels like so.
and I think Patrick Graham. We could talk about the defense. Patrick Graham. I wouldn't say he's completely proven he's going to like completely change the defense. Like we have to see because he's been with a lot of bad teams in his last several stops. But I mean, I think in 2024, like last year, he didn't have control of the Raiders' defense. That was Pete Carroll's defense.
Oh, that's
But the
true.
year before, right, despite even though how bad the Raiders were, like that defense was pretty solid. And I think what he said. I said this last week. I like what he said about. He said,
Like adapting. He
yeah,
doesn't have,
I'm going to
like,
adapt
one
to the players
defensive-
I have. I'm not
Yeah.
going to just have a Patrick Graham defense. And I think that was the problem with Tomlin. It was the Mike Tomlin defense.
Yes,
And the
yeah.
defensive coordinator didn't really have a say in what was going on. Not that Patrick Graham's obviously an upgrade over
Yeah.
Terrell Austin
Oh, yeah.
because Terrell Austin, he was calling the plays and it wasn't good. So I think the defense still has a lot of talent and especially you're spending all this money on defense. The coaching has to elevate it to where it should be. And with Mike Tomlin out of the picture, that gives me hope at least.
Yeah, I do think Ryan, you're talking about kind of the front office and drafting. I think Omar Khan should be under pressure right now.
Yes.
Because I don't think he's done a very good job. We could talk about some contracts that he's given out, obviously, last offseason.
Overall, the drafts have not been great.
Drafting hasn't been great. Last year's drafts, to this point, there was a lot of contributors. But I think this is,
But this you got a lot of picks this year.
a lot of picks.
Yeah.
You got to hit on them.
Yeah.
I think that's why I think it's big. And I think off-season wise, you still got some cap space. I'd love to see them get out of the Patrick Queen contract.
Please.
I'd love to see them somehow get out of the T.J. Watt contract because he's at a
I don't
position.
think they will.
I don't think they will.
No.
No, I don't think they will.
Because he's one of those guys where he's like an all-time Steeler great now. Technically,
Stellar
they're
for
gonna
life.
they're gonna keep him
Yeah.
until he's either dead or retired.
But it's
That's just the way. But that's just how it is.
It's just like there's Jack Sawyer this year we've seen his development. You got Highsmith. Herbig was great when he was in. They didn't give him very many snaps this season, especially when Watt was healthy. I just don't think he made an impact this year. Obviously, $40 million
You
was
just
way too
can't
much
keep
anyway.
Watt on the field and leave Herbig on the sideline for as much as they did. Like Herbig and Highsmith are both very, very good. And if you want to keep Watt, you got to find a way to get you got to find a way to get those guys on the field more, even if it's putting all three of them on the field at once in your scheme. So
I think that when they did the 3 edge rushers, it seemed to be successful.
yeah, I think they need to do
a lot
more
the
of that.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, TJ Watt's the guy he's paid, and it's like, it can't be about the money. You made a mistake, but you can't build the team based on the fact that or the defense based on the fact that well, we gave this guy $41 million, so we have to force him in. I hope that the new coaching staff and the new scheme helps TJ Watt bounce back. Maybe he will. I'm not saying that that's not a possibility, but
he was never worth $42.5 million or whatever it was.
But you can't like make all your decisions based off of that mistake either. You have to either
Right.
get out of it or adjust.
But I think the great teams and the great front offices, they get out when they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Like the
when they have to.
Broncos.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the Broncos, they got rid of Russell Wilson and ate a ton of money in dead cap, and 2 years later they're in the AFC Championship and could have made the Super Bowl if Bo Nix stayed healthy. So I think you gotta I think it was a mistake to extend Watt. I thought it then. I think that it is now. You gotta own up to your mistake. Like I was saying earlier with Kraft and with the Patriots with Mayo, you gotta own your mistake, pivot, and get yourself back on the right track. Because if you somehow get out of this Watt deal, if somebody wants to trade for him and eat some of the salary, but even so, like you can get younger defensively too. Watt's not a spring chicken. He's 31, 32, and that's for a pass rusher. That's pretty old. So I think you can keep getting younger at the position in drafting, and even with the Watt contract, they have like the 5th or 6th most cap space in the league for this offseason. So
the only way Watt leaves is if he wants to leave, because he did say Mike Tomlin's the only coach I really want to play for. So like,
get ready to learn Mike McCarthy, buddy.
That's what I'm saying. So like, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? Maybe Watt bounces back and then Tomlin gets hired by another team and he wants to get traded there. That would be like.
I think Tomlin, we're not going to be seeing him again. Like I feel like he's disappearing into the night.
He's been
MIA.
He very well could if he wanted.
I think it's really like astounding how many of the players love Tomlin. Like not a lot of people really have too much to like fight like against him.
Yeah, nobody says a bad thing about him as a person.
James Harrison, he didn't.
Well,
like I think that's like the one thing where I worry about there is an extreme amount of passion that all these players had for Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna be matched with McCarthy. I think they might get better, but like that's like something where I feel like literally like the passion that they had benefited them enough to a point where I think this is why they were able to like squeak out a couple games that they realistically should have lost over like these past couple of years.
But to contrast that, maybe like with a better defensive scheme for the times, maybe those games that they barely won that they should have, maybe they just played better in that game. So it is interesting. Cam Hayward did say like that McCarthy loves the Steelers, loves the city, so he does have a passion. He really wants to be the coach and wants to be successful. So we'll see. I mean, so far it's been kind of lukewarm with the players with McCarthy. Nobody's really said too much about that with him, and it's the offseason is still young, but it'll be very interesting to see where the Steelers go from here. Also, their outside linebacker coach, they brought in the Montana State defensive coordinator. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yes.
So that's an interesting hiring because he got big shoes to fill at that position because that's where the Steelers have been so good for so many years. Yeah. But that's going to be interesting. I like that it's a bigger staff. I like that there's a chief of staff now. I didn't even know it was a position.
What does that mean though? Like what does that do? I've heard that
in political terms.
Steve Charnicchia. That's his name.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I
don't know what that means.
Definitely something we would have seen a year ago. Tomlin's
like chief of staff is like a head
Tomlin
coach.
is the chief of staff.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a head coach, like chief of staff, like the head guy. I don't know, but so
the other one I wanted to mention, this is kind of a big deal, is they brought in the Commanders' defensive coordinator who got fired. He is now the assistant head coach.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
/ secondary coach. So he's not going to be just because he's assistant head coach. He's not calling plays or doing any of that. But he's going to be a secondary coach and kind of like McCarthy's other ear.
Yeah.
With his experience, I don't have a problem with that. He certainly wasn't that good of a defensive coordinator. But I mean, Dan Quinn thought enough to hire him, and they did do a lot with limited talent in 2024.
And it is Dan Quinn's defense too. So who knows if we can't paint that this past whole picture on him.
Yeah, so I don't have a problem with it. I don't necessarily. I'm not like, oh yay. Like I don't really have an opinion on it. They kept Scott McCurley as inside linebackers coach. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. Because inside linebacker has been a big issue. But
maybe it's personnel.
But to me, it's more of been a personnel issue than a coaching issue. But I hope that's something they address.
Also a coaching issue because Tomlin could never figure out the inside
right,
linebacker.
That's what I'm saying.
Since Ryan Shazier, and I think Peyton Wilson can become that closest thing. Not to Shazier, but to like a really good inside linebacker. But I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, they've been terrible at evaluating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll
else
talk
to
more
really
about
say.
a bunch about the Steelers as the offseason kind of gets into gear. in a few
I
weeks.
just want to end on one quick. When he talked about the passion for Tomlin, that was his magic. Was his relationship with the players. But I think that's why the Steelers never wanted to fire him, was because he had such a good relationship with the players, and the players played really hard for him and stuff like that. And he quote unquote coached them up. But I feel like that kind of got in the way of them being an actual contender. Like there was no I don't know. There was no I don't necessarily believe in my players loving my coach, loving the coach, to the point where they feel like that's their dad,
you
want
to be respected
in
more.
some instances. I think it's with Joey Porter, I get that, but there has to be a sense of coach and player, and a sense of there's a standard here. And even though he said the standard was a standard, I feel like the standard had been lost. So. And McCarthy, I think he's no Tomlin, but in terms of being a motivator. But I don't see why I've never heard of, other than Aaron Rodgers having issues with him. I've never heard anyone say.
And that was after a long time.
I have issues with McCarthy, right?
So it'll be interesting to see. There's just a lot of moving parts, obviously with the coaching staff of the Steelers, but now as we head into free agency and the draft, what this team's going to look like in 3-4 months.
Yeah.
But I do want to pivot a little bit. Is there any other NFL coaching we want to
Well,
talk
I think
about?
the Raiders. The Raiders. I'm really. If you're a Raiders fan, I feel like there's some hope.
Yeah, I would be ecstatic. Yeah.
Clint Kubiak. I wanted the Steelers to interview him. They interviewed Clay. And I think both are probably pretty good. But Clint Kubiak's going to be the assistant coach of the year. I mean. He's just if your last name is Kubiak, Shanahan, or McVay, that's probably gonna be a good hire.
LaFleur, what about Mike LaFleur?
I'm not. I was bought in on him, but now not so much. I don't know. I gotta see more.
You have to soul search about LaFleur.
Yeah, I gotta. Yeah, that's exactly right.
I think the only worry is just if we presume that they are gonna pick Mendoza, is he gonna be that guy? Is he gonna be?
But he has the coach. This is my point. He has the coach now. He has a good offensive coach.
Then you're set.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar, but
there's
he's not walking into a
bad situation.
A bad coaching situation, I feel like. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean Clint Kubiak's going to be a great head coach, but you can't deny the fact that he knows offense. And the Raiders have these weapons. They just need to rebuild the offensive line. That's the big issue.
They need receivers.
That is true.
Yeah, or at least
but I'm saying
one.
that they have
But they got Bowers.
Genty,
they got
Bowers, but they do need a couple of receivers. But there's all sorts of receivers you can find.
Yeah.
They're really. Kubiak. I'm sure he had a say in drafting JSN in some capacity. You would think, right?
I think Mendoza being the number one pick probably to the Raiders probably was the deal breaker to get Kubiak to be the Raiders coach, because other than that, it's not a highly sought after job just on the surface, just because the Raiders have had so many head coaches that are still on the books. 6 head coaches they're still paying right now, and now they're going to pay Kubiak.
But it was attractive for his side of the ball.
Right. So,
now the
but
defense,
now you got,
everything else is going to be rebuilt. But
and there's reports that Max Crosby's they're done. The Raiders, it's done. That's what was reported yesterday.
Which is fine.
But I think that's exactly what you need to rebuild the defense, rebuild the offensive line, get the necessary receivers. Right. You need more picks. And Max Crosby, as great of a player he is, he's only getting older. He's a big cap hit. Now, I'm not saying he's going to decline or anything like that yet, but he's just not valuable to you for the next at least year or two while this rebuild is going on. And he's been to the playoffs one time. I don't even know, was he healthy that year? I don't even know, but he wants to go somewhere else, and I think that's an okay situation for the Raiders, because you're going to get a lot of draft capital.
Yeah, for sure.
And who knows, you could get some players in return too that could help your team.
Yeah, and they need picks. Because they just need, like you're saying,
they need guys
at every level. They need better players. So we'll see with the Raiders. I do hope for their sake, Raiders fans, for Brian Cashman's sake, that the Raiders can be good in 2026 and beyond. Because going into the season, a lot of people were saying this could be a team that wins 7, maybe.
And that was the
games.
Pete Carroll factor. But
Yeah.
as John Schneider figured out, right, Pete Carroll's like, he hasn't adapted.
And Geno Smith.
And
was very
Geno
good.
Smith.
Yeah.
Oh
Geno
my God,
Smith,
the Geno Smith agenda that went through last postseason, not postseason, but last year. Oh my God, because that's like part of the reasons why I think people were like lower on the Seahawks at least.
Why'd
They were
you,
like,
bro? People are like,
Yeah, that's true.
it's going to be hard to find a replacement for Geno Smith, a better replacement. And I was like,
And then he just
to me,
flopped.
in my mind, it was a no-brainer because I've always been a Sam Darnold guy. Sam Darnold is absolutely better than Geno
Well, not only
Smith.
that, but you have to move on from Geno Smith. He had a good. It's a great story, amazing. But
He
like,
did well, but
like
not
there's
enough.
there's only a cap to his ability. It's not like he's just gonna keep getting better every single year. Like in the playoffs, he doesn't really do much. I don't know
And how
why
old is he,
people were so
35?
like. Something
Yeah,
like
he's
that.
older.
Like, to me, like that's a no-brainer. You move on from him. Like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's a no-brainer. Like I don't know why people were like freaking
Now,
out.
in hindsight, it's even more of a no-brainer
Exactly.
because I don't
Yeah.
think anyone expected him to be as bad as he
Right.
was.
But if I was a
But-
Seahawks fan, like I would be like, okay, we have to move on from Geno Smith. We need something better at this position. Like that's what I would be thinking. Like that's what I was thinking with Big Ben his last couple years. As much as I loved him, I'm like, okay, we got to move on. This isn't. I mean, there's only so much that he can do at this point in his career. Like that to me, like if I was a Seahawks fan, I'd be in the same situation.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's pivot to just a little bit of baseball here because I do want to talk about the Pirates. So we haven't talked about them in a long while, actually, for the most part. And we talked about Kutch a little bit last week, but a lot of swinging and missing recently here in a short amount of time. They were, for weeks, and even a month, we've heard they've been in on Eugenio Suarez, and as recently as a few days, before he signed with Cincinnati, it was said that it was just the Pirates were. They said, I don't know if you'd call them the front runners, but they were, they were right there to sign Eugenio Suarez, and they had that interest. And obviously he
So
goes
close.
to Cincinnati on a 1-year, $15 million deal, which is even less than the about $20 million.
That's the nightmare scenario for the Pirates because he is a pirate killer. Like
Well,
if you
but-
remember his time with the
well,
Reds,
Well,
like
luckily he didn't have. He's never faced the current Pirate
Yeah,
pitcher
he's this-
staff.
he's-
Like it was
Yeah, but
more of the
pitching
pirate
staff.
killers are
mediocrity.
as long as I've watched. Oh my gosh! As long as I've
Pirate
watched.
killers are pirate killers.
As long as I've watched Pirates baseball, doesn't matter who's pitching. If there's a guy who hits off the Pirates, he's gonna continue to hit off the Pirates. It doesn't matter. Ian Happ is a great example. He had like what, a 60-game on base streak or whatever or something against us. Like some of these guys, they
Well, maybe
curse
it's reversed.
us.
Maybe it's reversed now because he chose the Reds over the Pirates. So
Yeah,
maybe
maybe
it's
it's
some
a
reverse
curse.
action.
But-
You never know.
Do
But
we-
either way, like I hope that the $15 million that they were willing to give Suarez at the time, I hope that's allocated towards left side of the infield help, bullpen, one last starting pitcher. Maybe you can even grab a corner out. Like
Yes.
to me, like I hope they don't just they were using this $15 million and then they're just never going to use it and the payroll stays the same. I'm big into don't let the payroll decide how good your team is, but like if you still need that $15 million to supplement just a couple more pieces on this roster to me. And I hope that they use the money that they were going to give Suarez on something good, or at least to just fill a bunch of other needs to me.
Yeah. The big question for Pirates fans is, and this always seems to be the dilemma when they finish second or third on a big time free agent, or not that Suarez was a big time free agent, but
the biggest on the market.
or a big trade or whatever, right? Did the Pirates do enough? Did the Pirates try as hard as they could to get Eugenio Suarez, or and they just came and they just ultimately, like, he just wasn't interested, or did they not do enough, right? And in this instance, typically I would say the latter, but I think in this instance, I think Suarez, because
Cincinnati's just a more attractive.
Suarez,
Yeah.
the rumblings were like the Pirates were interested, but like I kept hearing like, he's just really not that interested in the Pirates. Like I just don't see him wanting to go there. And I mean, it was now, who knows? We can't always trust what the Pirates say because obviously reporters were saying, well, the Pirates offered more in AAV. They offered a multi-year deal.
Or they were willing to go.
They were willing to
in
go
AAV,
further. So obviously that's the Pirates sending that message to the fans. So if you want to believe that or not, you can or you can't, or you can or you don't have to. But I genuinely think that it wouldn't have mattered. I just don't think he was interested in the Pirates in the end. I think that's what it came down to. So I'm not going to crush the Pirates for this one, believe it or not.
What about Framber Valdez?
Well, I did not think he'd get that.
Why in the world was that? That just didn't make any sense.
They pivoted from former Astros pitchers to Jose Urquidy very quickly.
That didn't make any sense because that's just you're going to spend $30 million a year on a starting pitcher when that's your strength. Like, that doesn't make sense. The only way that would make sense is, and I don't think they have the capital. There's no way they're going to have the capital to do that with the current ownership. So my issue was like
$38 million.
And then he ended up getting 38. We were saying maybe he'll get less. Maybe his market's dropping.
That's why I
and
thought
he ended up getting more.
Exactly. Like I thought because the Pirates are interested in him, I was like, okay, maybe he's only going to make about what Suarez makes per year. I did not think that he was going to get $38 million per year just on the fact that the Pirates apparently were fully interested in this guy. It was just weird to me. Like, I don't know. And then he signs with the Tigers right after we hear all this.
The only way I thought that it could happen was okay, they sign him for $30 million a year. Okay, they're not going to keep that much money on the book. So then you trade Mitch Keller. So Valdez essentially is an upgrade over Keller, which he would have been, right?
Yeah.
And you have a great one of the best 1-2 punches in baseball. And then you trade Keller for that third baseman you need, and maybe an extra reliever. That was the only way. And then Keller's what, $16 million this year. So then that takes away half of what you're paying Valdez this season. So, but then yet again, you would have been paying him for 2 more years, $30 million. That just didn't seem like a smart move for a Pirates team where the starting pitching is their strength.
Well, maybe they didn't realize that he was going to command $38 million a year, and that's where the Pirates were sort of fully interested, thinking, maybe 15, 20 million per year is what he's going to want. But then they probably heard, the Tigers are offering him X amount. And they're like, yeah, there's no way. That's a smart decision for us.
I want to mention the Tigers real quick with this signing.
Yeah.
It's weird. Even though it's a great fit.
It's a great signing.
Yeah, it is.
It is a great signing. Obviously, that makes your rotation even better with either, depending on your point of view, he's either the number 1 or number 2 pitcher in all of baseball in Tarek Skubal. But at the same time, are you trying to piss this guy off to the point where he requests a trade? He wanted $32 million in arbitration, which he's absolutely worth. Mm-hmm. And I'd understand maybe giving a counteroffer of, 25, right?
Yeah.
They said, no, you're only worth $15 million. Okay, so that pisses him off. That has to piss him off a lot already. Mm-hmm. And now if you're Skubal, you're saying, I wasn't worth $32 million. You thought I was worth half of that. But meanwhile, you're willing to give this free agent $38 million.
Yeah, that's right.
If I'm Tarek Skubal, I am furious by this.
And I think he lost. I think he had his arbitration case.
No, I think he won.
Did he win actually? Because he said he on his Instagram story he posted reacting to the Valdez signing. He said, "You're buying dinner."
Skubal won.
He won actually.
Yeah, he did.
So he ended up getting the $32 million. But
he's still buying him dinner. He could buy him.
The fact that
but you're going through all this process and you're paying someone at that amount of money and more when you're one of the best pitchers.
He's arguably the best.
What do you do? And
he's a homegrown guy, and he's a guy who's been dedicated to the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad business.
It's like one of those things where maybe it's like, you want to stay here, don't you? So it's like you don't want to pay him as much, but then they were expecting that. Maybe it's I'm not sure about the politics of
because all it does is amplify the rumors about him being eventually traded.
It shocked me how much money they gave Valdez.
I agree, because you figure with Baez in the books, and then obviously with Skubal's arbitration, you figure the Tigers, the market they're in, they don't have their old owner who passed away a few years ago, or a handful of years ago now. But yeah, It just shocked me that they put another contract like that in their books. I don't know.
Yeah. So pivoting off of that, what do we think of this? Just briefly, reaction to this Jose Urquidy signing. I like the move. I think it's obviously a
I have
low
no
risk,
idea.
low
about
risk
this.
reward.
Well,
but
I
he's-
still want to see if they sign him to a major league deal or not, because that's where it's going to decide it for me. If it's a major league deal and they're expecting him to be the 5th starter, I'm going to be a little annoyed because I like Urquidy a lot, but like he's been hurt for
if
so
they don't
many
do
years.
anything else,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hoping this is a minor league deal. I mean, they're saying he's going to earn $1.5 million on a 1-year deal. I have a bad feeling because usually that means they didn't sign him to a minor league deal, or else I feel like that would have been announced by now.
Yeah.
So I hope that they're not expecting him to be the 5th starter. I have no idea. Maybe they're thinking, hey, long reliever until Jared Jones is back, and then we'll probably put him in that role until he builds himself up as a starting pitcher again. But like, I just hope that they're not relying him as the 5th starter, because then it reminds me of 2019 where the Pirates trade Ivan Nova and then they grab Jordan Lyles, and it's like okay, like, well, you were aggressive the trade deadline before, and then that's your 5th starter. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So I hope that this isn't where they stop there. I hope they grab another starting pitcher. I would love Jose Quintana. We've talked about that.
Well, do they? I mean, and the other question is, do they see Urquidy as a starter or maybe as a long end reliever?
That's what I was talking. Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. Like they might use him as a long reliever.
I'm trying to
Jared,
find the details
until
of this trade.
Jared Jones is back from his injury and everything. So
I'm trying to find the details of this signing here.
Yeah, I mean,
1 year, $1.5 million.
but it doesn't say if it's a major or minor league deal. That's what makes me a little nervous. But we'll see.
I feel like that has to be a major
usually when
league
there's
deal.
money attached, it's a major
That's what I'm
deal.
thinking too. But he hasn't pitched like at a high level consistently since 2022. So that's where. But I still think he's good. Like I still think he can be.
Yeah.
Good. I don't know.
Yeah. Anything else on the Pirates on baseball?
Well, who are the Pirates? I mean, Miguel Andujar signed for $4 million last night.
the Pirates weren't all over
Like, I feel like they're gonna come. It's gonna come to the point where like they're gonna run out of options,
no
and they're gonna have to
excuses.
make
Yeah.
a desperate trade.
I mean, Andujar is a perfect fit for the Pirates. He's aggressive, but he doesn't strike out, which is shocking to me. He's a guy I figure would strike out 150 times a year in a full season, but his strikeout rates are very low. He's a lefty killer, not just a very good hitter against lefties. The past 2 years, he hit close to 400 against lefties. I mean, he is someone that is so important to have. Like, just even I don't care about his defense at this point. I mean, he rakes. The Pirates haven't had a 300 hitter since Brian Reynolds in 2021, and before that, I couldn't even, or maybe Kevin Newman before. I don't know. It's just like they need someone that can hit for a high level, and Miguel Andujar provides you with an aggressive bat, doesn't strike out, hits for contact. I mean, I don't know why you don't want that. And for $4 million, Pirates could have given him $6 million. Bring him in. Like,
Oh yeah.
I think it would have been an easy no-brainer.
I think they're either targeting a trade or
And
They're just-
Ozuna. Is that an
but
option?
he can't. You need a third baseman.
Yeah,
you need a third baseman.
I feel like Ozuna would be too much where you can't do anything after you get him. Like,
I
I'd rather
think-
them explore the trade market.
I think you could trade. I would, to me, for them to be a playoff ready offense. If you sign Marcell Ozuna and then you trade for a third baseman like a Brett Beatty, I guess I'd accept Mark Vientos, but I'd much rather have Brett
Yeah, I'd
Beatty.
much
I think
rather-
you need to
rather
take a
Beatty.
swing with Brett Beatty because I think the potential is
Well,
there.
Beatty, even if you don't like how he performs against lefties, that's where you can use Nick Gonzalez now, unless you would trade him for
And
Beatty.
Triolo.
Or Triolo too. Like, assuming Connor Griffin doesn't make it in the opening day, you could have that flexibility on the left side of the infield where Gonzalez and Triolo don't have to play every day. And it's sort of matchup based stuff with Beatty as well. Like, I think that will work out well. And to me, Vientos, I don't know if you need another right-handed infielder on the left side. I don't think that makes too much sense, unless, again, you're trading a Nick Gonzalez in that situation, which I could see very well happening. So
I'm not like the biggest in-depth Pirates fan. You know, I'll like follow along and be like, oh, you know, we're going on a good win streak. Oh, we're buns. Well, that's kind of to be expected. But, you know, I feel like the things that I picked up on from last year going on to this year is that the pitching was like solid. The bats were buns. Improved the bats.
yeah, that was the story.
I don't
Yeah.
think the bats have improved a considerable amount to the point where, you know, the Pirates can get into a postseason spot. It would be really fun to see the starting pitching in the postseason. If it ever gets to that point, the bats would just have to be there. But you have Skeens if Jones comes back and Jones is good. If Bubba gets called up, if Keller's still there, unless he's a possible trade candidate for the Pirates to get another bat. I think the pitching could be, starting pitching at least could be good enough. Have the Pirates make a solid run. Again, my understanding of postseason playoffs and what's really important, with the relievers, closing, pitching, all the bats, it's not as strong as I would want it to be, but that's kind of the vague things I see about it all.
Yeah, I do think the rotation's so young, and I think getting a veteran guy is really key. I just think because obviously Skeens acts like a 30-something-year-old, but he's only 23. There's just a lot of youth, and in the reliever room too. There's a lot of youth as well. You bring in Soto, but could there be another reliever that they could look at too?
I think they do, because I just don't trust. I don't completely trust that Dennis Santana is going to continue this stretch, just because he was such a, an unknown sort of, and had a lot of struggles in his career, and then all of a sudden he comes to Pittsburgh and bam, how long can he sustain that?
Right, and that's where you kind of almost wish that they traded him at the deadline if possible.
And you wish David Bednar. I wish both. They should have just kept both of them.
Looking back at what they're doing this offseason. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Bednar, now you don't have to shop for a reliever, and you get Bednar through arbitration still, who's not going to be overly expensive. So, yeah.
A lot of questions still. It's just, at some point, like we were saying, we like the Brandon Lau trade, we like the Ryan O'Hearn signing, but you don't get an A++ just for doing something, and you don't get an A+ for coming up just short on all these signings when it was really right in front of you. There's got to be some action here. The offseason's not over yet, but it's getting late early. Spring training, the games start just in 2.5 weeks.
That's insane to me.
It's coming up here pretty quick. So the onus is on that front office to make some moves here, because there are gaping holes.
Yeah, the offense is not going to be good enough as it is right now.
Yeah,
so,
if you get it to middle of the pack, I think it's a playoff team. Yeah, it's not a high bar.
Yeah, that's the way I've seen it. The pitching has always been there for the most part.
And you have to assume Reynolds bounces back. I mean, O'Neal Cruz has been working hard. So there's guys that you still know can come back. It's just if they will. So,
all right. Anything else to add? I think we hit a good spot here on episode 63 of the We Are Family Pittsburgh Sports Podcast. Ryan Quinn, once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We've had a great time. We've
come back anytime.
Yes, we've gone very long once again. We always do, and had a good discussion here. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be exciting. Super Bowl this week. It's weird. There's been 2 weeks. So there's the anticipation wasn't quite there for a while, but now it's starting to ramp up for people as we're only 3 days away now, and you can get the Super Bowl parties going and everything, and have a good time together. But thank you, everybody.
Ryan Quinn, are you having a party?
I don't think so. Not for Super Bowl Sunday.
Well,
I fear.
the We Are Family party is.
Might be going to bed before the game ends. We'll see.
Wow.
We'll see. But not as a disrespect to the Super Bowl.
Don't disrespect Sam Darnold.
It's a late night. It's a late night.
You're not going to celebrate with Sam Darnold.
That's for the morning.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. But thank you everybody for tuning in. Make sure if you like this video, you like it, and subscribe to our channel and follow us on our socials. We have the links on Instagram. We have a link tree that you can look at that has all the links for everything. But once again, thank you, Ryan, for joining us. I had a great time here, and thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time.